from January 7th as written.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, opening the meeting with Corinna Cole to discuss forming a public access committee for videotaping of public meetings. Corinna?
Yep. I actually have 3 people, including myself, that are interested in this committee.
Okay.
And those are the people, and just like to formalize it and get maybe appointment papers, and so that we can work on a budget and move forward with it.
Okay. As far as appointment papers, can the town clerk speak to that for the committee? Would we appoint people for that?
Well, you might, I don't know if I do appointment papers, but, you know, you could maybe formally appoint them. I guess we could do that, but, you know, I don't think they have to take an oath or anything for that.
You can keep that, Kim.
Okay, these all 3, the other 2 people are Lebanon residents as
Yes.
well? Okay. So we have you, Chris Losovic, is that how you say that? Losovic, okay, and Dan Goodrow. As far as the budget, that's going to have to be discussed. Now's the time, because we're right in the midst of the budget
Yep.
season, so we can talk about that. I think, and chime in Selectman Thompson, but I think that what would be good is for the committee to meet with the board and discuss that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we're actually planning on meeting tomorrow night at the library. All together.
So after that meeting, can you call Sue and get booked in to see us? It doesn't have to be all 3 of you.
Sure, yeah.
Or it can be,
Yeah.
just to talk about the needs for funding. Because it would either have to be an appropriation for the June ballot, and if you needed something earlier, we'd have to discuss that.
Okay.
But the budget committee starts tomorrow, so we want to
Okay.
meet with you sooner on that. Okay, anything else on that, Corinna?
No, that's just it, just to make it an official committee and.
Okay. So can you do us a favor on that for when Corinna comes in? Pull the meeting minutes from when we had the gentleman here and Vicki Weir here from Berwick. Can't remember when that was. Late summer, early fall. I guess it was Vicki Stone. I call her Vicki Weir. Vicki Stone from Berwick. And the other gentleman who presented the online option. So we can pull those notes and discuss that as well.
That would be great.
I remember being quite expensive to set it up a certain way, so we can look at that. Okay. The other thing that the board is looking at tonight is voting on requested disposition action. So we have the summary.
It's rescue disposition, right?
Right. We have the rescue disposition report from the treasurer. So the board's ready tonight to make a motion on that. It's been divvied up as to what's collectible and what's not, and so on and so forth. This document is also open to the public as well, so if you need a copy of this, we can get you a copy. So I'm prepared to make a motion, and it is, the total amount is $97,410 on the disposition report. So my motion is of the $97,410 of the rescue disposition report, I move that $16,731.51 be written off as such items as hardship, deceased, under $10 is a variety of reasons, which again is a public document. $40,362.36 are potential residential Lebanon subscribers. One letter will be sent to request proof of subscription to those payments for service payment before being sent to collection sent to collections via Comstar's recommended company, FFA.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have copies of that?
I can make some.
Yeah, mine has a little scratch on it, and just a couple more things about it. On the note, it says that, recommended that we will call those who live in Lebanon. We're not going to be calling them, we're going to be drafting them a letter, like the motion says. And, there was another offer, a settlement offer that the selectmen, decided not to take advantage of that at this time, the settlement offer from the FFA collection agency. Do you want to do 25 or 30%, trying to get a certain portion of what's owed? And Selectman Thompson and I decided that we do not want to do that at this time. We want to try to get what we can get up front and maybe settle on a percentage at a later date. So that's mine. When you get a copy of
So
your...
which one am I doing?
That's okay. They just explained my scratch up in my notes, so...
Okay. I also get a copy of what you just made that motion. I need a
Yep,
copy of that.
here, you know what, take this to the machine. It's right there. You're welcome.
How many would like a copy, everybody?
Okay, public input. Chip?
I just had a quick question, maybe the open hearing about this for you guys. About the videotaping or the communications media, whatever. I guess I don't understand the need for a budget before policies comprise and put in place to ask for something. I guess I'm confused with a budget in play. Is that, isn't the committee basically to discuss and try to come up with some sort of a plan? And so, once that plan is brought up, you go to the selectmen and they put it on referendum for June or whatever, but do we need a budget to discuss? That's why I guess I'm kind of
I'm not
confused
saying
on.
that they're going to have a budget to discuss. I'm saying that at some point they're going to need funding to do this huge venture. And I think they need to start talking about that. That's part of it. We're going to be writing warrant articles for the June ballot very soon. So if they're going to need funding for this, if that's the avenue they're going, the committee has to decide.
But it's not a budget for the committee.
No.
Okay,
It would be a
that's what I
budget
thought.
to buy the equipment, to implement the program.
That's fine, okay.
Okay. Anything else for public input? Laura?
Can you just kind of bring us up to date on how things are going with the rescue and, you know, whatever you can tell us, I guess, whatever.
Sure. Well, it's been very busy, and you just got the disposition report update. We currently, this week, are working on putting the 2 vehicles outside of the rescue station to bid, so that is happening literally as we speak. We get updates from Chief Parent frequently, I would say, at least a couple times a week. Let's see, trying to Selectmen Thompson, because there's so much going on with it.
We're actually been in contact with Tina Reserve, who has now been named as president of the corporation.
Right.
That is a private corporation, but she's very cooperative with the board so far, and I don't expect that to change. She's been very good and helpful. However, some of this stuff, we can't make decisions with her alone. I mean, she needs to go back and talk to the members there of the corporation. But definitely making progress there. I had something else in my mind when you were talking, but I can't remember now.
Well, along with that, she was able to acquire the title to the vehicle, the newest vehicle that the corporation purchased. So she has that. And
The red one?
The Expedition.
The Expedition, the red one. garbage and trash that was taken to the transfer station.
Right.
And Tina knows and heard that the corporation items were not part of that. They've been set aside and so on.
She's going to review those shortly, I think Thursday, I believe she said, but I'm not sure. Yeah, the only other thing I did think of what I want to say too was the Medicare revalidation. The process was, we had the package resent here to the office. Jeanette worked on that. It took quite a bit because we had to get information from the insurance companies, and so you're dependent on other entities as well. Finally got all that information together. It was sent to Comstar, who then sends it on to Medicare. And at this point in time, Comstar has received it and sent it forward, and I believe Medicare has it in their hands. So we'll move forward there as well.
So
There's been a lot, I just want you to know, there's been a lot of good comments from residents on how the fire and the rescue are, people really appreciate that and really think that's really great. And we've heard a lot of good comments about that.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, the officers met last night from the, not the chiefs, but everything on down, all rescue and fire, everything. They were all present. According to the reports I've got so far, everything was fine. Everybody's willing to work together and they're coming to an agreement. They're going to meet at least once a month right now. And then I've heard that the chiefs got to put into effect. So far, everything is going good that way.
Okay. Selectman Thompson and I began working, I believe it was last week. I call it getting creative on finding ways to pay down the rescue deficit. Looking at everything from FEMA money to taking bits from across the board budgets. Let's see, what else we're looking at. Selling equipment.
A lot of equipment to be sold. Yeah.
Equipment to be sold. I think 20,000 from, what are we expecting from Medicare? Was it 20,000?
Right, yeah, 20,000. And the ambulances are running right now, so it's a process. We've heard back from Comstar. I lose track whether it was last night or this morning. I think it was this morning. But basically, they transported it a few times. I think they had 8 calls or something like that just this weekend with a snowstorm, I think it was. And there was like 5 transports, but 2 or 3 of those were Medicare. So, unfortunately, that's not money we're going to grab right now until the revalidation process is done. But you haven't lost it. It's being built up, so that's good news there. We did also change you were here, that was last time on that, but we changed the rates, and that has been implemented as well through Comstar right now. So anything that's going out, the rates have been changed, and we're billing at that rate.
We do also have this piece of equipment that it came to our knowledge recently, Auto Pulse. We have it here in the vault. Very expensive piece of equipment that the voters approved. Something that I think that we had to have or something back years ago. And then we found out since the turnover in leadership that you can't use this piece of equipment in the state of Maine at all. So we're looking to sell that. I think it was originally $40-something thousand. So Chief Parent was hopeful that we might be able to get 20 for it. We're just looking to get anything for that, so that will be another piece of equipment that's sold again to recoup funds to pay down that deficit.
Well, and part of this too, as we've had conversations just yesterday when we did that workshop as well, is that yes, definitely we want to pay down funds behind us. We got a line in the sand. We've got problems behind us that we need to pay down. However, right now you have no revenue, which is what this enterprise account works off from. So when we do sell something, we need to put revenue in place to start paying current bills, because otherwise we're just continuing on the same problem.
The same thing, right?
Which we can't do. So.
Yeah. Tony.
So are you guys going to sell that red thing because the town has to accept it, right? Or
We
is that?
did vote to accept it. We need to get it in our possession, which we're working on with Tina Reserve right now.
So you're going to put it in service? Or you're going to just?
No, I don't have
Out
any
from it.
intention. Just to keep it.
You want it? I'm just kidding.
Chip?
are we current on billing? I remember there was a time that we didn't have all the way to December. There was a lot of billing that we didn't have, the turnover, there was bills missing, and Nobody knew the status of it. Are we current on billing now?
As far as I know, we are. Everything's been switched over. That CompStar now has direct access to Memser, so as soon as the patient run sheets are put into Memser, they can reach in, which is right now is basically for the number of runs that we actually do. It only warrants maybe once a week, and they reach in and grab them, and they can immediately start billing them.
But all those bills from the last quarter,
As far as I know.
those all.
That's what we were told, yeah.
And then second,
That's okay, go ahead.
on some stuff, have we looked at maybe putting stuff on eBay rather than locally? I mean, again, Maine, if Maine can't use it, then our only, if we're trying to sell it locally, it's like New Hampshire versus going on eBay.
No, we are looking directly for that one piece of equipment that can be used in New Hampshire. We're looking at, like for instance, Frisbee Ambulance has been contacted, people in New Hampshire only that could use it. We're not putting it out to Maine.
Right, but I'm just thinking that you might get a, I mean, you might get a better response.
That's
Because
certainly.
you can always put down minimum bids on eBay, so you don't sell it lower than what you want.
The other thing is too that the vendors have been contacted, which may or may not be the best price, but I mean, they also have avenues they can sell these things, and so that has been done also. So.
They are still working on trying to get that thing so it will be legal too, so. In Maine, because it's legal, quite a few, most of the other states, but I mean, it's one that hasn't. If it becomes legal, then it's a good piece of equipment, but it's just a matter of.
I just find it bothersome that we've had it sitting over there for years as a necessity that we have not been able to use.
Well, it just became not usable within the last year, before they all, it was usable before that.
I don't know that it's been used.
I don't know if
is what
it's
I was
ever been
told.
used, but it has been, wasn't illegal to use it, so last probably year.
Betty?
When will you get the results of the forensic audit?
The board has not made any motion at this time to move forward with that. We have been in communication with town attorneys regarding the audit proposal, and we're still talking about it.
Things have changed, for one, with the corporation right now. The proposal that was given to us as far as like step one, and that's all you can really do is you do step one, this is what it's going to cost, and then is there anything to go forward with at that point? Yes or no? This is where I think you should go, and this is how much it's going to cost, this is the process. But things have changed. So some of the things that they were going to charge us, or an estimate of charge, a fee or whatever, to get this or that, we can now put our hands on probably. So, yeah, we haven't actually taken a vote yet. Still just
So
gathering
it has
information.
not been done?
No.
No.
We met with the auditor, but that's,
Okay.
yeah.
It's almost like we will need
It's
to
a
speak
process.
with him again, because for an example would be, when we met with him, it was prior to Tina coming on board for the corporation as the new chairman. We didn't have access to any corporation bank statements, we didn't, she's been so forthcoming. So the proposal that was written to us was going after things like that, like a lot of stuff has just changed in the course of that 2 weeks. So we don't know that the price that we were quoted, which, for transparency was $22,500 for the audit. I don't feel that's a valid figure anymore, because things have changed so much since we met with him. Yes, I believe so.
Okay, well, within saying that, are we to the point where we are spending so much money on this whole thing between lawyers and auditors and overtime and all this other stuff, that in the end, we're still going to lose more money than we will gain? Or are we going to gain by keeping up with going after the coals, for lack of a better word? Don't write it like that, please. I mean, you know what I mean? Is there a point of where it's not going to be worth what we can gain from?
I personally don't have the answer to that yet. I don't know what is unfounded. I only know what I know, and I don't think I know it all. As
Okay,
far as what
okay.
is not known, does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense to me.
But
Yes, absolutely.
there hasn't, tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've expended overtime on this. I know Selectman Thompson and I have been putting in a tremendous amount of hours because of it. Staff has not put in overtime because
but we're taking away from a lot of other stuff too. I mean, I don't know how you would say, I'll give a value on that, but at some point there has to be a value to
I
that.
think that was part of the conversation with the attorneys is, if we expend this, what is the outcome? What are we going to find? Is it going to be worth that 22.5, which again, I'm throwing that figure out, but that figure is, I feel,
Right,
no longer
I understand.
valid. We don't have an answer to that yet. I think
Okay.
that at this point, we need to re-speak with the auditor.
To me, they're two separate things, honestly. Going forward with the auditor is a whole separate entity, in my opinion. And doing what we've been doing right now is tying up a lot of loose ends. You know, and trying to get things straightened out so we're functional again and operating in a positive manner. And for one issue, your sign that you had to come looking for from corporation, you're not the only person. So that's a loose end, you know, and so that's still things on the table right now that we're dealing with many people. I kind of wonder how many more will come forward
I do too.
that we don't know about yet. But now we have corporation members who seem to be willing to work with us when you start getting some of these answers done.
So maybe we're on these
Things figured out.
down the slope, so we say, or up the
I-
slope.
That's exactly how I described it. I really feel like, you know, we're right here.
Okay.
You know, we got a ways to go, but it really feels like the waves are settling.
Well, that's what I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah, I feel that way as well. It's calming down.
That's
I still think there's a lot of unanswered questions, but, you know, we plan on getting the answers to those questions. But it's seeming to me to come a little easier now, having full cooperation from the corporation. So,
And I have one more comment, if I may. It's been brought to me kind of by our town, shall we say, that Ray takes that truck, that thing home, whatever it is, right? But, and the vehicle's out of town, because he lives out of town. But he's done the EMT. How can legally a person tell an EMT, lead an EMT, or tell an EMT what to do if they're not medically, if they don't have medical background or credentials? I know that a nurse, an LPN, can't tell an RN what to do legally because of the reason, you know, a lower person can't tell a higher person. So how does that work? How are we working that, where he has no medical background?
he, in my opinion, was hired as an administrator with more than 40 years of experience in that.
I know that, yes.
Fire. He has sat on the Maine EMS board for, I believe, more than 10 years. Is your question about the vehicle, or is your question
Well,
about...
it was brought to me that the vehicle's out of town,
Well,
by
is it
out of
about
town
the
people.
vehicle, or
And
is
then,
it-
when they made the comment to me, they said, well, I don't even know why he needs it. What could he do? He's not medical.
So you have two questions. You're questioning why the board hired him, which is a
No,
personnel
I'm not
issue.
questioning why. I'm asking you if the person that heads that department has to be medically trained, yes or no?
Does not, and we checked with the attorneys before we did that.
And,
Go ahead.
okay, and would that vehicle not be better off in town to someone who is going to respond to an emergency, yes or no?
He is making calls, and it is something that Selectman Thompson and I can discuss with the chief, if we deem necessary. As far as the vehicle being out of town, the vehicle was always out of town before, under the previous
I know that, and it kind of bothers me that someone would mention that it's out of town.
Well, it's also
And I
been,
understand that other
been-
people don't understand this, but at the same time, I guess in my own mind, I have to say, well, gee, if you can't go to an accident and you can't respond, why does he need the vehicle? Why are we saving mileage and all that?
He is responding, and he does go to scenes, and he does watch what's going on.
Why?
to observe, for one thing, because, I mean, he does understand, he knows what needs to be done. He may not be licensed, that doesn't mean he doesn't know what's going on and what needs to be done. I mean, where he supervised in Sanford, he was chief in Sanford, that is a combined department. You know, so he has supervised and overseen paramedics and such.
Right.
He has also brought in one person, because there are a lot of rumors flying around, he's brought in one person, not a whole crew, as
I
some people
missed
have been
that.
reporting, who is a paramedic license. you know, just basically for access to the Memser system,
Mhm.
you
Okay,
know, so they can run the computer side of things and things.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Laura?
back to the billing part, because the MEMS or whatever that is, and I don't know what it is. So now Comstar can go online and do the billing, we don't have to do it, is that what you're saying?
Right, what was happening was they probably, best case scenario, once a month would snail mail
Okay,
the bills, you know, town bills down to Comstar.
okay.
And just really slow down the process. Now, based on the number of runs, it seems that the number of transports realistically is around 240 to 280 a year. Transports, not calls, but transports. So based on those numbers, Comstar feels it's warranted to only reaching the Memser once a week,
Mhm.
not every day. I mean, bigger, if there's more transports, they go in every day and grab them. But what they do is they immediately go in and grab that billing information, and they can immediately start billing. You're not waiting a month, you're billing it the next day.
Before it was like 4
So a
months.
bill, so every run or call isn't billable then?
Absolutely not.
Correct.
Oh, so, oh, that means, okay, I get it.
Anything else from public input? Chip?
Just following up on a couple, on EMS one, is there a, do we have a policy, I'm assuming that's the chief's vehicle, whatever you want to call it. Is there a policy in place? I know previous years, there's been issues with people using it for this or that or not, whatever. There's a question about issues now, so is there a policy in place for how that vehicle is to be used within the rescue department? And is that something that you guys are working on if we do not have one? My guess is I would think that there should be some sort of a written policy on how that vehicle should be used, even if it's kind of general, but just something so that we're not just kind of winging it. Is that, I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong, but it's just that way we're consistent.
I'm not aware of a policy.
Yeah, none that I know of either, but I know there's been some conversation about that vehicle, and I'll be perfectly honest, in my mind, that's probably one thing that's maybe slipped through the cracks with everything that's been going on, because maybe Skip can help answer this at all, but you know, it's been what do I want to say?
Busy?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's been propagated that that vehicle is a first response vehicle, and basically we're supposed to keep water in it for, you know, for fire calls and things. This is how it was said.
Right.
And I remember a conversation, and I'm just going from my memory, but just in the last few weeks that, no, that's not really how things work, and this and that, so I don't have a clear answer on that. You know, what the way it was done versus how it should have been done are sometimes two different things, and maybe Skip can shed some light.
It could be set up as a first response vehicle. It hasn't been really. I mean, never had the equipment on it to do a first response, as I was told.
That's, yeah.
And right now, there's no medical equipment on it per se, anyhow, some backboards and stuff, and nothing serious, but he does respond with it. I've seen him respond when we were over the Springville. He went to call down the center road with it. And being the chief, I mean, he has control of the scene anyhow, no matter who the paramedic or not, as far as how they operate and so forth. So I don't see a problem with it. There should be some sort of policy, you know, there usually is some sort of policy written up who can use it, what can you use it for, whether you can go
I
Augusta with it or whatever else.
I just think with all that has been going on with rescue, like Ben said, I think it just maybe fell through the cracks. It's been extremely busy in the transition. Not making an excuse, but I don't recollect that there was anything in their SOPs or about the vehicle.
No, well, I mean, and that definitely can be something to be addressed. I mean, absolutely, there's a lot of things to be addressed, you know, throughout the whole town. And, you know, I think this kind of falls into something that I recently brought up too with Karen and Jeanette. Yesterday was a workshop. We're trying to identify equipment that we don't have our hands on. And so that opens a Pandora's box to every department in town, quite frankly. You know, we need to start being accountable for if the town's buying it, we need to have, by department, a list of equipment, who's got it, and a disposition list, because it needs to be, okay, well, that broke and I'm throwing it away. Well, it needs to go through the process, come before the board, treasurer, whoever, somebody needs to write down, you know, and sign off that, yes, this piece of equipment has now been disposed of. You know, so now we keep track of where things are.
Yeah, and an annual inventory, if you will,
Yeah.
for every department head. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff at the transfer station, the road crew, there's a lot of things that we're spending money for, taxpayer dollars, and have that come into, you know, the office once a year and updated.
Yeah.
I think
So,
that would,
A lot of policy that probably needs to be implemented.
Yeah, I mean, I bring that up just because a lot of this stuff is not visible
Absolutely.
to the general public. The chief's vehicle is a visible sign that people see, that even though you guys may look at it as a lower priority, and it may be a lower priority, I'm not saying where it is, but it's visible what's not visible. You know what I'm saying?
I never
To the
even
general
knew
public.
it to be a chief's vehicle either. I mean, honestly, it was never really called the chief's vehicle, it was EMS one, and I guess sometimes it was at their home, sometimes it was at the station. I don't know, again, it's just one of those things that maybe we just haven't gotten to yet.
No, that's fine. I just,
Of all of it.
two more quick items. I don't know if you saw the article that Harrison wrote today, I think it was today, but it talked about that the potential investigation, or somebody was doing some investigative work to see if we had to go further. So my guess is that part of the article was maybe a little bit off, because there's no initial investigation happening. Is that correct? And basically what your comments said before?
Yeah, there's nothing happened yet. We met with the auditor a week ago, Monday night.
Wasn't that about the credit card?
Yes.
That was about the credit card, what he wrote about. Yeah.
It was about the credit card, and that's isn't that the same investigation, or is that a different investigation?
I don't know what Harrison wrote necessarily, and
Okay.
I don't have it memorized, so I did see it, but I don't remember.
Okay, so regardless, there's no active investigation by anybody on the outside? Other than our own legal, based office.
Sure.
Okay. And lastly, we talked about, it was mentioned about, is it worth doing all this work? Are we gonna get the payback? And I guess my only question or comment, probably more of a comment than a question, but I would think accountability goes into there. I mean, we shouldn't be doing this just for a payback, because otherwise somebody can do something to the town illegal or whatever, but if there's not a payback, then we just don't follow through. So I think there's, at some point, there's an accountability factor where you have to do what's right, and you can't allow somebody to do something wrong or unethical or whatever, and just let them get away with it, because if you go after them, there's no payback to the town. I think it's worth some amount of money. Everybody will argue what that some amount is, but
Accountability is a huge part of it, but also, and I'm not saying I'm one way or the other, I'm just saying I have to be, and I'm not going to speak for Ben on this, I'm going to be extremely mindful that when I make this decision, and I think there has to be a whole new proposal from the forensic auditor at this point, because things have changed so much in the last week, but I have to be mindful that, am I going to expend $22,500 of taxpayer funds, taxpayer money, and find that there's $7,000 of misdoing? I have that on my shoulders. I am all for accountability, transparency, and answers to what really happened in every gamut of this, but it all has to be looked at, not just accountability. Accountability is important, and I believe in that, but you know, we answer to the public, and we have to know that, you know, we're going to spend a huge amount of money for, I don't know what we have yet, is what I'm saying. And until we know what's there,
No, I agree.
I'm
I'm just
not
saying
going to make that
there's-
decision.
no, I agree. I mean, there's a certain, you have to draw the line somewhere.
Well, I don't want you to think that the board is dismissing accountability,
Okay.
because absolutely not. Ben, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I mean, and part of it, I guess, I mean, everything that you both have said already, you know, absolutely is already on the table for sure. I mean, monetarily, you gotta weigh it out. What do we got here tonight? We got, what, 7 people here tonight. So I hear your voices. I gotta also take into account, you know, the 6,000 voices in the town. You know what I mean? This does weigh on your mind, you know, and these are decisions that you try to make the best of. Having had some real estate background, you know, fiduciary responsibility is part of this position, you know, and so, but one other thing I want to bring up was that, you know, there is monetary value, okay, but also one of this, I mean, it is, but one of the other things there, to me, is if you can get to the point, this time get to the point that there's actually a policy in place that this doesn't happen again, that's got some value to it.
Great.
So a lot of it.
That's worth a dime.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Any other public input? Laura?
I would just think maybe you could mention about Saturday, the community forum, just kind of.
Oh, sure, go ahead,
Yep. This Saturday, starting at 2 o'clock at the Lebanon Elementary School Gymnasium. We're going to do the first of what's hoped to be several, just informative type meetings. To me, there's a difference between, the select board sitting here behind the table and, meetings open and just having a discussion with residents. In my opinion, just my observations over the years, there's always been a separation between the select board and the residents. There's always seemed to be a wedge there. I've had my own experiences with that. I'd like to kind of, heal that wound, I guess is the only way I can look at it. If we can, there's a lot of times, in my opinion, I guess, is that the way the process runs is we put things on the ballot. We have a special town meeting to discuss the things that are going to be on the ballot. And then people raise all kinds of different questions, but quite frankly, your voice doesn't matter at that point. That's not my decision, that's just the reality of it, because it's already on the ballot. So this is going to kind of circumvent that. Let's get for one thing that we're going to talk about is the old town hall.
Public input.
I would like to get some public input. Where do you guys want to go with this? Because I got both sides of the coin here. We're going to spend way too much money. Other people say, hey, let's finish it. We've spent so much money already. So, the more conversation we can have, I think the little wiser decisions we can make. We waste a lot of money and time putting things on ballots that are never going to pass. And that's just a good step, I hope. And I'd like to see a great turnout. It'd be great. And there'll be probably this time like munchkins and coffee.
Okay.
Maybe cookies next time.
All right, so, no other.
Out of my own pocket, there's no special budget or something. Good.
Are you sure